So we gotta talk about this goddamn motherfucking Alexander the First right there. Alexander the First is gonna be the Russian Tsar from 1801 to 1825. Look at Smudge the Pudge. Who is this Smudge the Pudge? Look at that hairstyle. Look at them sideburns. Motherfucker is 1970s before 1970s even began. Look at that hairstyle. Got himself a nice little mohawk. Nice little mohawk, right? So yeah, that's fucking Alexander the First. A Russian Tsar. Don't get him confused with Alexander the Great. He's just Alexander number one of the Russian Tsars. So for 24 years, he's going to run shit. For 24 years, he stopped Napoleon. That's something in 1812. But he was anti-liberalism, anti-modernity. He's a monarch. So he's an old. When Napoleon started doing his shit, they had to get like 8 coalitions to stop that fucking imperialist, aggressive, racist, rat bastard fuck. So there you go. That's Alexander the First. I think probably the first Russian Tsar in modern history. 1800s and 1900s, that's the only history that matters. Who gives a shit what happened before 1800s? So let's talk about the 1800s, right? Let's talk about the 1800s. You're going to have 5 Russian Tsars. 5 Russian Tsars. You got Alex the First, Nicholas the First, Alex the Second, Alex the Third, and then Nicholas the Second. That gets us from 1801 to 1918. Alex the First has a 24-year dynasty. Nicholas the First, 30-year dynasty. Alex the Second, 26-year dynasty. Alex the Third, a paltry 13-year dynasty. And then Nicholas the Second, he gets a 23-year dynasty. So if you learn those 5 main Russian Tsars, that'll get you from 1801 to 1918. That's monarchs are bullshit, fuck royalists. But when it comes to studying history, it's easy to study the history of Russia in the 1800s because all you got to do is study Nicholas 1 and 2 and Alex 1, 2, and 3. So let's just read some of this timeline. In the 1800s, 1801 to 1825, Alexander the fucking First, right? Alexander the fucking First was educated by La Harpe, a Swiss rationalist. He was educated by a Swiss rationalist. So he comes, I guess his mind comes out of Switzerland. That's Alexander the First is educated by La Harpe. A constitution was discussed. It was never implemented. So he never became revolutionary. Always reactionary, anti-reactionary royalist. Alexander the First dies in Crimea. He died in Crimea. Then Nicholas the First takes over. Nicholas the First, 1801 to 25, 1803, he passed a law to regulate the liberation of the serfs. So he started the process of liberating the serfs and then just turned his back on it once people were like, what? He's getting rid of slavery. Took all that fanfare and then, just slammed it right back in people's face. Kind of like, goddamn, what, you're going to forgive student loans? Yeah, I'm tired of you motherfuckers taking a carrot and goddamn putting it in front of me. In 1804 to 1813, this is war with Persia. Russia is going to war with Persia over Georgia. Again, Russia is going to beat Persia. They took Georgia. They also took 2 regions. Dagestan and Shimaka. So Shimaka and Dagestan were taken. And now what Putin did, he took 2 regions out of Georgia, the South Ossetia or some shit, and the fucking Askaskia. Hell, that's what goddamn Russians were doing with Persia. They were fighting over Georgia back in 1804 to 1813. And then pretending that they were fighting for 2 regions and then, used that as a toehold, used that as a foothold, and then took the whole fucking country. 1805 to 1807 War of the Third Coalition. Napoleon's France is going to defeat Russia. So at first, Alexander the First got defeated by Russia. Napoleon conquered that bitch. You had the Treaty of Tilsit. Alexander and Napoleon were best fucking buddies after the War of the Third Coalition failed. So we already got 3 coalitions chasing after Napoleon's fucking bold, aggressive, imperialist ass, and they can't catch him. They can't catch this bastard. Alexander and Napoleon become allies after that war. The Treaty of Tilsit, 1807. 1805 to 1812, the Russians built forts in Alaska and California. maybe Oregon, Washington, Canada too, because in between Alaska and California, you got Canada and Washington and Oregon. So one would suppose that Russians are building forts not just in Alaska and California, but also that was 1805 to 1812. They're like, get the hell out of here. No, we got to go to Siberia. We need to get to the coast, and then we just got to sail the Pacific Ocean until we find some sane, civilized place. 1806 to 1812 is the war against Turkey. Russia beats Turkey. In 1806 to 1812, Russia is going to take the Danube principalities. The Treaty of Bucharest is signed. 1808 to 1809, war with Sweden. Russia wins, takes Finland. So fucking shit. Russia's going to war against Sweden, going to war against Turkey, going to war against France, going to war against Persia. Can Russia get along with anybody? Can Russia get along with anybody? War with Sweden? What the hell could the Swedish people ever do? Them sweet, beautiful people. 1812. Alex I and Michael Speransky was going to introduce some new reforms, but nope. Instead, Michael Speransky is going to get banished from Russia for even thinking of improving poor Russia with a constitution. You're going to shackle poor Russia with liberalism and a constitution and elections, you pile of shit? Alexander I didn't want to hear about this elections and constitution and consent of the majority, the consent of the governed, and the Bill of Rights. Shut the fuck. What do you think? We're a bunch of Americans? What do you think? We're a bunch of French revolutionaries over here? What do I look like? Goddamn Toussaint Louverture? 1812, Napoleon's France. Again, what a fucking piece of... You had a treaty, but you signed the treaty to say, fuck you, Alexander, and then he was like, okay, But Napoleon... with France, Napoleon's France invades Alexander I Russia in 1812. And it took several coalitions to defeat Napoleon. 1815 is when we're going to finally defeat him. Took like 8 coalitions to fucking defeat that bastard. Alexander I runs the Congress of Vienna, works on a grand holy alliance afterwards. We need to have a grand holy alliance to stop these damn Napoleon sons of bitches from... 1815, by Treaty of Vienna, Russia got Warsaw organized into the Kingdom of Poland. So the Treaty of Vienna, 1815, Russia got Warsaw. So now Russia thinks they're Poland. Now they're Poland, motherfuckers. It was a Stalin-Hitler invasion of Danzig. Both Russia and fucking Germany's been wanting to take Poland. I would say the Polish people, the Polish blood, the Polani. That's who founded Kiev. King Key was a Polani. He was a Poland's, a Pollyanna. The Treaty of Vienna got Poland, got a constitution. So fucking crazy. Russia got Warsaw and Poland, but even though they didn't have a constitution, one of their colonies had a constitution. Poland had an army, had a constitution, and the Polish language was made official. So that didn't hurt, right? Alexander I taking over Poland kind of, at least was better for Poland than it was for Russia. Alexander I hired Alexis Arakcheyev as his chief advisor, which is a right-wing reactionary. So no more talk of, constitutions, elections. No more talk of Bill of Rights and freedoms and shit. Shut the fuck up with that freedom talk. Shut the fuck up. You just obey an autocrat. You obey an authoritarian. That's all you fucking do. Goddamn discuss things. Shut up. A king is a president is a king, a constitution, a piece of paper, a nation state is a conquered colony. That's all it is. You think what? Because you elect your goddamn king that makes it better? Yeah, that changes the whole fucking game. So Alexander I, he's going to hire this Alexis Arakcheyev guy. And so basically Michael Speransky in 1812, Alexander I looks like he was going to do some shit for Russia that was going to, when it comes to the age of revolution, Russia doesn't enter the age of revolution into the Bolsheviks until this bloodline gets, fucking slaughtered. So Alex I, second, third, Nicholas I, and Nicholas II don't mean shit. None of their efforts moved Russia forward. They liked the power. They wanted to keep the power. What? Do something good for their own countrymen? Do something good for their nation state? Nah, I'm just gonna hire Alexis Arakchiev. Nah, I hired Alexis Arakchiev, and he told me that he wants power and wealth, and he don't give a fuck about. If you're, smart, you'd be swinging for the fences. Alexander the First should have got us a constitution, some Bill of Rights, ranked choice voting. Hey, Alexander the First, how come you didn't get us ranked choice voting? It's fucking 1800s. This is after goddamn, the U.S. Constitution and France and Haitian revolutions. Alexander the First knew about all this. And then he was going to be friends with goddamn Napoleon. And then he defeated Napoleon. Their fucking story. Napoleon had 500,000 troops. And then he's, limping out with 10,000 troops. Fucking 500,000 men are going to get killed for Napoleon's war against Russia. 500,000 men. Alexander was able to save Russia. And the biggest, the craziest tactic that I can remember, it kind of reminds me of the Shawnee and the Delaware in Ohio. But the invading army's coming, and they knew that they were coming, so they, instead of waiting for them to sack the city so they could steal everything, the provisions and the food and the weapons and shit, they went ahead and sacked their own city. They went ahead and took all the provisions that they could take along with them and then just burnt the fucking city to the ground. I want to say Moscow. They burnt Moscow to the ground. What, Napoleon, you're coming to... Then Napoleon sits in Moscow for 5 weeks, and Alexander's like, no, we're not coming to Moscow. You can sit there for as long as you want. As soon as you leave, we're going to, go right back. You want me to sign a fucking treaty with you, you fucking dickhead? No, siree, that's just like the Cossacks. That was just like the Scythians when they fought against King Darius. We're our own people. We don't have land. We don't have buildings. We just have each other. We're like the 5,000 Chechens in Chechnya when we're fighting against the Russian rat bastard fucks. You can level the entire nation, but the 5,000 diehards that say we will never fucking give up, you rat bastard fucks. We will never fucking give up. That's how you save a country. That's how you save a country. So, yeah, the Shawnee Delaware did that shit too. But the goddamn fucking George Rogers Clark would just burn like 12 fucking Shawnee villages like it wasn't shit. But I guess that's just like what, Russia just did to goddamn Ukraine. How many small towns and hamlets and shit and goddamn hollers does nobody know anything about? We'll probably be finding about these atrocities, for years to come. But anyways, there's Alexander the First. I'd say the first modern Tsar of Russia.